All right, I have a serious question for all the anti-gun nuts out there that continuously push this lie that the number one cause of death in children in this country is gun violence. It's not, right? But my question to you is, what do you consider a child? Because as I stated in my last post, accidents, mostly car accidents, are the number one cause of death in children. Ages 1 to 4 years, 5 to 9 years, 10 to 14 years, unintentional injuries. And then you have congenial malformations, deformations, and chromosomal abnormalities. And then you have assault or homicide. This does not mean gun violence. This means assault or homicide. Guns are obviously part of that third statistic, but they don't actually cover the overall general scope of all child deaths, right? 5 to 9 years aincer, and then you get the same thing. And then 10 to 14 years, intentional self-harm or suicide and cancer, right? And guns ain't even on here in the 10 to 14 at all, right? So my question is, what do you consider a child? Because this is from the CDC, and they're saying you are lying. You want to know why they're saying that you're lying? Because you're going off of this statistic right here. And ironically, this is also from the CDC. So the CDC just told you that every child from 1 to 14 is not dying from gun violence. That's not the number one cause of death. But then you look at this bar chart and it's overwhelmingly firearms. How is that possible? Well, if you pay attention, children ages 1 through 19. So again, what do you consider a child? Also, I notice how they start at 1 because the overwhelming deaths for all children is abortion. I mean, you guys dominate the field on that. Like nothing even comes close. If you consider abortion murder. I mean, then, yeah, no, totally. But yeah, again, what do you consider a child? Because we can actually back this up with even more facts. For instance, in Jewish culture, right, you got bar and bat mitzvahs, right, which is the transition from child to young adult. In boys, it's 13. In girls, it's 12. This works very similar to confirmation in Christianity. I think that's usually around 12 years old, but I digress. In Latin America, you got a quinceañera, which is a young woman's 15th birthday. And I say young woman because a quinceañera is the transition from childhood, that's the word you're using, to young womanhood, essentially young adult. So now that we've covered what is and isn't a child, and we've seen the CDC admit that all children are killed in accidents, by cancer, by suicide. A lot of them, unfortunately, more recently, have been overdoses, right? And then there is homicide coming in at number 3 on 2 out of the 3 demos of children, right? So I think it was ages 1 to 9, right? So there's, unfortunately, I know this is hard to hear, mothers that drown their babies, right? And there's other things like neglect, but guns are on there too. So now that we know all that, right, we got to look at some other demographics like this one. Now, before you start calling me racist, just remember, I'm just reading a chart. But here is the statistics for black children, which has skyrocketed. And because we know all that other information I just said, this is in the 15 to 19 age demo. Whereas whites and Hispanics over the same 20-year time period has either dropped or stayed the same. So the question is not whether or not gun violence is the number one cause of death of children in this country, because I just proved to you that it isn't. The real question is, why is the rate of gun violence and death so high in young black adults? And the answer is most likely gang violence in Democrat-run cities. And I'm not saying that without evidence. You can go look this up yourself. 14 out of the top 15 highest rate of gun violence cities in this country are ran by Democrats. They have Democratic mayors. Go to Wikipedia, look up each and every one of them, and you will find a D next to every single city who has the highest rate of gun violence. These are impoverished cities, right? These are cities where a lot of the kids don't have a father or a positive male role model in the home. And that is a cause of Democrat policies. So that's the answer that you should be looking for. And that's the question you should be asking, instead of just lying to all of us and using a talking point based off of these bullshit statistics that the same Democrat leaders are feeding you through MSM. Hope that helps.